Oh, I
Should have
my
made it clearer. Light the fuse. Go.
um is my screen visible and am I audible? Do
We
we
can
have
hear you and see your screen.
um actually one of the things is the point of this being my notebook is I make some comments on previous, so here's a review of stuff. There's one of those basis arrays, very interesting to go and see that. And one of the things the notion actually of having, because complex numbers are equivalent to two by two, a set of two by two matrices. But I've never thought about the idea of a two by two matrix where the entries were complex. So, but in any case, that's very interesting to go and I mean, in a sense, to be able to express that math. Oh, and this is one of the things that is interesting over here is really looking at being able to express the fundamental math of AI which in a few lines. Um, but some friends of mine have come out with a climate movie that's really quite good. But in some of the conversation with them, I pointed out I'd be more interested in doing a finite element model of planetary physics, particularly temperature. This interests me more than doing AI, but in any case, I mean, the thing is that's the coming from visual psychophysics, the purpose of learning the math was to go and understand the math of associative memory and so forth. In any case, I mean
Bob,
that's yes.
what are you using tick for in your language? You have a
I'm
tick in
sorry.
front of
I'm sorry. What was that?
tick. What are you using tick for in your APL language? You know,
Oh,
see,
oh, oh, yeah. One of the things is I've got, there are two ticks. And the left tick, here, I was pulling up math to get my random vocabulary, but this left tick, the upper left tick, that goes and it simply returns the following non-blank string word as a string. So it's a so here this is file read. Okay, so there's the script. Okay, and if I take out the comment symbol, um, now it's involved. That's executed that thing. So now I have these random. I wanted to get these random random number generators and so forth. So, but this one of the things is it really is an illustration of the power of having the environment you're working in the in the language that is rooted in forth, that the bottom line level is forth. But I wanted to just show that's what's, I think you can realize from that generalities of, essentially it's lists of lists. This is a list of two-item lists. And the algebra is actually different than traditional linear algebra. It's like having matrix algebra without the transpose because you're putting a list with um, lists operating on lists, mapped to lists. but this is one of the things that Brad's fascinating talk. But one of the things that really struck me is that Chuck talking about keeping things down to one or two arguments. Because in CoSy, well, here's a vocabulary of things where this is each monadic, and that's the thing. My use of the right tick, the right quote, which is such a brilliant thing in returning the address of the execution, you know, to execute the next word. So you can pass verbs as parameters. Essentially that, well, here are the words that do each. If you have a single list, it does each on each item of the list, and each of these take a tick. Well, here, for instance, let me take out the comment symbol, and this tick is going and returning this, which returns looks up the definitions in all the vocabularies, but it's applying each M monadic is taking one list as an argument, and it's taking the function, and it's applying the function to each of those. So this is looking up the help on each of those words. And the thing is that these are all looping words, and it's each monadic, each dyadic, each left and each right. So you can hold one list constant and operate, but notice that it's just two parameters. It's 1 and 2 parameters. And similarly, actually, these, which I just noted, go and make a stack frame, pushing 1 or 2 parameters onto the frame. And these are going and undoing that, because one of the things is between these symbols, you have a left, one of your memory management is taken care of. That's one of the most fundamental things. Oh, and of course, I'm in for different fonts. I'd like to particularly have a vocabulary of words which actually work in an infix manner, by essentially recursively stacking themselves. But the thing is that I'd like for color actually is how long ago, when I've got these lines of code, I'd like to have a color for, oh, this is where I was. So sort of using color for aging. And Don mentioning the use of negative. And actually there are similar issues with respect to using negative reference counts, for instance, to make something a permanent object. But, and then the other final point was the notion, one of the powers of Forth that it shares with the Iversonian languages is that it's word by word definition. And that is really you're not writing programs so much as you're defining a word. And that's very powerful thing. Anyway, actually, I think one of the things is I've been accepted to give a talk at this Lambda conference that is it's going to be in conveniently in Estes Park. But one of the things is that it's cross languages, and I expect to learn more about Rust. There's a big emphasis on Rust, Aaron Shu, for instance, is actually with Dialogue APL. Name of my talk is CoSy. APL evolved as an open vocabulary in fourth. So the contrast with what Aaron talks about, which is Dialogue APL, and his efforts at compiling, making a compiler for that, versus essentially just having a vocabulary in open fourth. It's, again, the Moore's tick, which returns the execution, the address of the next word, essentially goes and trumps all of the complexities of traditional APL. And one of the things is, I think, actually just from looking at the behavior in CoSy, where like is pulling all this definitions of these words from the scripts, going through all of the scripts, and it does that with no delay on a decent well, hell, now the power is anyway. All let's see what's worth. Oh, this whole thing. I tried. I made something using vocabulary. I finally just this week made something to go and have arbitrarily named variables, but it's not this below. But anyway, one of the things that Don brought up that is very important is how simple the 3-cell header. Let me lop off that. Yeah, the count, type count, and then the reference count as a fundamental structure for lists of lists, and how trivial the definitions of those are. One of the things actually that I wanted to go and make a note on is, again, this issue on one or two arguments. With CoSy, there's the freedom. You can have arbitrarily number of arguments, but keeping it down to 0, 1 or 2, 0 is a noun, 1 or 2 or a func. Well, obviously you can create whatever you want, but there's a tremendous amount of wisdom. And I mean, with 2 arguments, this is a Y combinator, as I understand the term. And that's a generic, I mean, this covers the generic forms of things. If you want more extra parameters in things, you're passing lists. So the list can go and have arbitrary information. I don't know whether I should bother going on, but one of the things is this is going to be a situation where you have, I think it's probably going to be the only talk at the conference that has any fourth in it, because it's all this at the level of well, I'll learn more about what the hell the difference between Scala and I don't know, all these different variations on bringing Lispy ideas and array ideas into traditional languages. Oh, one thing I should point out is, yeah, this vocabulary, it seems very trivial, but this was one of the 2 things. This vocabulary of images instead of, well, actually, where I really absolutely get lost is which is wrote and which is minus wrote. I'm sorry. Let me go and just have a word that's a stack picture. And I was
I have
commenting.
that problem too, Bob. I don't know what it is. I can never. I always have to try it and think about it, and I always forget
Well,
that.
that's yeah, and as a matter of fact, actually, in this implementation of these lines, I made these two words eventually, and the real difficulty actually is running into the fact that value uh, operates on, it's not functional. You can't just pass its parameters on the stack. And it goes and does this diving in and cleverly looking at the next word. Well, in a sense, this is the purpose of this tick is the only word, if you will, that actually this is forming the whole list of things that I could get to talking about. But yeah, I wanted to mention this because here it is. There's the URL, and this should run in essentially any fourth, But in defining this word here, where I finally can go and put a name, have named variables, although it's not perfect, but one of the things, here, I I actually got this wrong at first, but yeah, it's nip, okay? It lops off the a, it lops out the a. But again, just in terms of taking of easy, I work very hard at trying to avoid having to think. And this this helps me not even think, and but it's a vocabulary that yeah, it also is more complete. I mean, how do you when you run into this situation, what have I got? I got 4 items on the stack, and this is how I want them to end up. Well, anyway, I don't know. I mean, I could go on, but I think actually, oh yeah, the other thing that I was going to talk about, and this perhaps is worth another vocabulary that's quite useful, independently of any of the whoops, didn't mean to cover up any of the vocabulary that has to do with dynamic objects and all that, and memory management. But this is this because people bring up the notion of locals and so forth, particularly. But this is implementing a notion. This article on yeah. Here, no, I don't know what. No, it's just being slow. But it really is quite trivial, quite simple. So this is classic forth, but this is the entire vocabulary. And essentially what it does to make a stack frame is it just goes and stores a pointer to the previous level of the stack. And so it gives you have a fixed point at the top of stack. And so you can make these words, and I've called them right argument and left argument. This is again, this use of, you have either 1 or 2 arguments, but essentially it goes and takes the stack frame pointer, and it takes the first item before that, the second item. One of the things, if you're going to go and optimize, I don't know how you do it, but having both toss and next on stack available as parameters, if you will, RA and LA. But these go and give you your parameters as internal as within your definition, and they well, yeah, actually built on that. And this is the second half. This is where a whole vocabulary of pushing and reference counting, handling the reference counting, and these two on entrance with either one, and this is a result returning. So I mean, it just returns the arguments. But again, these on exit to a word or even inline, that this goes and pops your stack pointer, and it returns whatever the last result was. So anyway, that's but go and look at yeah, CoSy, and particularly any way, this is like, I'm going to be out, it's 40 days. I've got a little function to go and give me the difference in the number of days between now and when I have to talk. So in 40 days, I'll be presenting fourth, or an APL as an open vocabulary in fourth, up against all the other languages that are out there. So, and let me hit a F11. Okay. 5 minutes for questions. Brad, you always have, oh, yeah, you're boy. I want to have a different font for essentially an infix vocabulary, but an infix, I want to have different fonts for yeah, I mean, but that tagging context, or tagging meaning with attributes.
Maybe use a Chinese keyboard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, coming from APL, it's really interesting. I mean, I really miss the APL font. Because I mean, not having the common a full set of common logical operators, and your character set is just nuts. I mean, the fact that we're using QWERTY keyboards, at least in the West, but the thing is, the simple brilliance of having white space as the delimiter, as the prime delimiter, so you can make words. Like I've just this word, I just changed the definition of this word that I was making. Yeah. So anyway, making the glyph, you can make pictures. You can make little pictures. And actually, what I'd like is a font that was really good at making little pictures. But I'll settle for Unicode. I look forward to having CoSy interface through a regular browser interface, which I'm just absolutely hell. I actually had a note here about it could be that I could get one hell of a lot more done. Simply, can I just go, yeah, here, how do I go and just do a simple get to get the contents of a web page? My guess is that it's likely, I mean, if I can go and open up a web page, there's got to be a line I can go and get the contents of the web page rather than the opening of stupid thing. That alone would be, then I can go and do all sorts of editing and everything like that in CoSy. which again is constantly it's irritation driven development, whatever ends up irritating the most, I end up finally going and addressing, and actually getting named variables is one of those. Anyway, I could go into this, but I don't want to run over.
Okay, any more pressing matters today? With that, let's pull the plug on the recorder. I feel better already. All right, with that, thank you one and all. We'll hope to see you next month. Don't forget to go to MeetUp. If you'd like to present, you're more than welcome. Save me twisting multiple arms going forward. You're welcome to remain in the room after.
So, Brad, can I ask you a